All right. Welcome to another edition of Sabbath Lounge. This is Matt.
And Jake.
We appreciate you taking a minute to stop by and check us out and give us a listen. Your time is very valuable. And, Jake, is time something you can make?
Make time. No, I guess.
Can you get time?
I don't think so.
Can you save time?
I don't think so.
So isn't it interesting, we kind of have all these expressions about time, but yet none of them are really true.
Yet more things I was lied to about growing up.
That's right. That's right. You definitely can't save it all, and as soon as it is past, it's already gone and it's history. And
Yes.
You can't go back. So I guess people would say that's why you show up in you're early. Because you don't be late to things. I don't know where I was going, but
we're on top of things today.
Yes, yeah. But definitely we appreciate your time. Time is very valuable, and how you spend your time and what you do with your time, and we hope that it's beneficial to you. And as always, just want to remind you, we do have a Facebook page, Sabbath Lounge. We have a Twitter, Sabbath Lounge. And we would like more followers and all these things. And we also have a whopping 25 subscribers on this YouTube channel. And we are just going like gangbusters here. So straight on the way to millions, I think.
Yep.
So
it's
just any day.
Only up from here.
Yes, only up from here. And then we have Sabbath Lounge on Spotify as well. And so it's Spotify and iTunes, and we have a
website.
Yeah, the website. Thank you. And so there's lots of ways to interact, lots of ways to listen. You can leave us a voicemail. You can leave us a comment. You can leave us a question. You can leave a prayer request. Just tell us something, please.
So, we're not desperate.
But we do appreciate you listening to us. And so tonight, a lot of times what happens is we go through our Torah portions and we start discussion, we start thoughts, and, things stir and we kind of have these conversations, and sometimes we're behind on what we're podcasting, and we kind of do it after the Torah reading. And so one of these is first fruits. And so tonight we wanted to take a look, or today, whenever you're listening to this, for us it's at night. And so we're going to do a fresh look at first fruits.
So fresh.
So fresh.
Fruits.
So fruity. So fresh and fruity. What was that? Fresh and fruity Rudy Tooty? No, you didn't know that. You've never heard that before? Seems like that was an IHOP commercial. Fresh and fruity, root and tooty, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Must be a Texas thing.
Yeah, it was just in Texas. So, but so when I wrote a few years ago, I wrote an article called "Get the Lev Out," and so I got that from in a certain movie where there's a character named Jack Black, and he plays this school teacher who teaches school, and he teaches kids how to be he teaches them how to be in rock and roll. But the whole premise of that movie is terrible, because you, Jake, as a parent, you would be so furious that this random stranger came and taught your child Led Zeppelin when you thought he was learning like serious school.
Right. It's my job to teach my kid Led Zeppelin. Your job to teach him ABC.
That's right.
No, that's my job also.
Yes.
Just to be clear.
But, in that movie, he talked about getting the lead out. And so he gets in his van and he's like, all right, now you know what time it is. It's time to get the lead out. And
so he was meaning Led Zeppelin.
Yes.
Got it.
Not Levin.
I'm seeing the tie-in now.
Yeah. So it took you that long?
Trying to
you're trying to help me.
Viewers.
Okay, gotcha. Well, some people might not be familiar with my reference, but But anyway, that's
I
what
think
it
we
is.
explained it well.
Okay. All right.
And
Maybe.
somehow all of this has to do with first fruits.
Yes. So, and now I've got a stick and I'm beating a dead horse. So is it possible that this was the first fruit offering? And so I wanted to start in the book of Jasher. And would you read this in Jasher?
And she called the name of the firstborn Cain, saying, I have obtained a man from Yahweh. And the name of the other she called Abel, for she said, in vanity we came into the earth, and in vanity we shall be taken from it. And the boys grew up, and their father gave them a possession in the land. And Cain was a tiller of the ground, and Abel a keeper of sheep.
So tiller of the ground, keeper of the sheep. And I highlighted in yellow here, their father gave them a possession of the land. And I can't help but think of, boy, that sounds an awful lot like the promised land. And getting a possession in the promised land, an inheritance.
Right.
And so there's a lot of things in there that will preach, Jake.
That'll preach, right.
That'll preach right there. I tell you what. And would you read the rest of that?
And it was at the expiration of a few years, that's a nice way to say it, that they brought an approximating offering to Yahweh, and Cain brought from the fruit of the ground, and Abel brought from the firstlings of his flock, from the fat thereof, and Elohim turned and inclined to Abel and his offering, and a fire came down from Yahweh from heaven and consumed it. And unto Cain and his offering Yahweh did not turn, and he did not incline to it, for he had brought from the inferior fruit of the ground before Yahweh. And Cain was jealous against his brother Abel on account of this, and he sought a pretext to slay him.
Any thoughts about that?
He's appears to be offering a fruit type offering, the fruit of the ground, probably his first.
Yeah, first fruits. Who is the he offering?
Abel. Abel appears to be doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And then in Genesis, just chapter 4, Adam made love to his wife Eve. She became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. She said, I have gotten the man that Yahweh promised. Then she gave birth to another child, Abel, Cain's brother. Abel was a shepherd, and Cain was a farmer. Later, Cain brought some crops from the land as an offering to Yahweh. Abel also brought some choice parts of the firstborn animals from his flock. Yahweh approved of Abel and his offering, but he did not approve of Cain and his offering, so Cain became very angry and was disappointed. Then Yahweh asked Cain, why are you angry, and why do you look so disappointed? If you do well, won't you be accepted? But if you don't do well, sin is laying outside your door and ready to attack. It wants to control you, but you must master it. Boy, that's an interesting concept there too. So
Yeah.
that he's being tempted and he's giving him a warning. Hey, you need to get a handle on this. You know, he didn't consume him with fire and instantly finish him and just knock him out right there. But he, gives him an opportunity to grow and learn.
Yeah, when we first started doing Torah portions with the kids, this was something that stuck out at me. Is Yahweh asks Cain, "Why are you angry?" And then he says, "If you don't do well, sin is lying outside your door, ready to attack." So the anger isn't sin; it's the gateway for sin to get in.
Yeah,
and I thought that was a real interesting way to see it, and I hadn't seen it that way before.
Yeah, it's good.
And then just an aside here. So I don't know if you've ever heard of this, and this is a shout out to someone I know and love, but have you ever heard of the serpent seed doctrine?
Oh, yes, I have. It's kind of interesting.
And one of these, this is aside from all this first fruit stuff, but the theory goes that the fruit in the garden was of a more sensual nature.
Yes, you used air quotes on fruit.
Yes. And that this situation was an adulterous type situation, wherein
this sounds like a rated R story.
the Bible is rated R.
Oh, is it?
Yes. But just look up mandrakes and you'll see.
Yes, you will.
But so anyway, from this unholy union that took place in the garden, this is where you have Abel from the fruit of Adam and Cain from the fruit of Satan.
Yeah.
But this verse here blows that right out of the water. Adam made love to his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. So who was the father? Who was the father and who was the mother of Cain, according to verse 1
it would be
chapter 4?
Adam and Eve.
That's what it says.
Clearly. That's the way I understand biology to work.
Right. So. Whereas in the serpent seed doctrine, Satan is Cain's father. And that's the plan supposedly was that the bloodline of Yeshua is what Satan was trying to corrupt. And this is where Cain comes from.
Yeah, I understand that logic, and I definitely have looked at it before, but yeah, the ick factor, I mean, it's ick and gross and
really
weird.
Falls apart, yeah.
It's kind of like, whoa, that is really weird. So if that happened like that, I think Adam and Eve would have so many other issues that might have been talked about somewhere.
Yeah.
Because how would your marriage would definitely suffer if something like that happened.
I would imagine.
It would be very weird.
Right. But we're not here to talk about that. Yeah, that's just something that the person I know and love will know exactly what I'm talking about. But, yeah.
And then Leviticus 23:9.
Yahweh spoke to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, when you come out of the land, I'm going to give you and you harvest grain." That somehow does not seem to be the right.
Maybe they're supposed to be I don't know.
Bring the priest a bundle of the first grain you harvest. He will present it to Yahweh so that you will be accepted. He will present it on the day after Passover.
And then if you click on this link, it'll flip back to this. And their father gave them a possession in the land when you come into the land. And so I just started seeing a lot of interesting tie-ins to this, just the terminology and the verbiage that's being used here. So and so you get this concept that he's going to, the first fruit offering. And did you look something up there? Were you going to say something else?
No, I was just seeing what that was saying.
And then Yeshua is the bread. Many scriptures about Yeshua. There are many scriptures about Yeshua being bread. It never says what kind of bread. Is it manna or is it real bread? And
comment now.
Yes.
Pause the video and comment below.
Yes.
And then see the answer later on in the segment.
Okay. Yes.
I think people do that on these kind of.
Oh yeah, they do. Do they really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's start something new.
We're trying to see what works here.
Yes. But which set of words? Oh, I forgot. I had a poll that I asked our group, and I asked people to comment, do a compare and contrast between manna versus matzah. What words do you use to describe manna? What words do you describe matzah? And so, do you remember some of the words that we talked about? Seems like we did this through the Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
I know, obviously, like crunchy for matzah.
Yeah. I think someone mentioned sweet because there's like a honey type flavor supposedly that goes with the manna.
Yeah. But we're just in matzah and the bread. Bread is light and fluffy. It's and especially when you go. We've cut a lot of bread out of our diet through the years, but But when you go all week eating the cracker matzah, having a real bread sounds pretty good by the end of the week.
Yeah.
So, and there's definitely a difference between matzah bread and real bread.
Right.
Especially, homemade. So the manna and the matzah, the manna, just like what you were saying, was a thin wafer substance that was sweet like honey. It was no frills. It's not much variety. It's just a calorie intake deal. So it gave them calories they needed. So what is that stuff? Isn't there something people use in go bags? It's like this brick of stuff, and you break it off, and it's just like nutritional calories.
Straight up nutrition.
Yes, I don't think it tastes like anything, or maybe the government has it, and with the military. But there's some nutritional bar like that that's kind of like a candy bar, and you take off, like, if you just eat one square of it a day, it gives you a lot of calories.
Yeah.
You've never heard of such a thing?
I've heard of it. I don't remember like what exactly it is, but yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, if you know what it is, let us know. But this matzah, is just enough to keep you from dying. Matzah is kind of like that. It's very similar. Not much flavor. It's thin. It's crunchy. It gives you nourishment. And so after the week of matzah, and Jake, do you think that during the matzah, or have you ever heard your kids ask you the question, "Hey, when are we going to eat that dry, crunchy bread stuff? I can't wait. Can't wait till we do that, Dad."
Not once.
So I think that's probably true too. I don't think most people sit around and go, "Oh man, I can't wait till we get to eat that matzah bread again. I just love that stuff."
Now I actually
I kind of like it too.
But yeah, it's not something I'm like I crave. Mm-hmm. It's not something I'm like. I could be making matzah right now. I'm not making it.
So all right, so check this out. Do you think we should open up a food truck? And so there'd be just food truck, and it would just be matzah. Like, okay, maybe we do like matzah grilled cheese. Ooh. I think that would be a big hit, or would it?
You know what's funny is you say matzah grilled cheese. we made tomato soup and cheesy matzah for Passover and unleavened bread, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, it probably was. But
I enjoyed it. But no, you're not going to get a lot of takers at the food truck with that.
Especially if you go to the food truck park, which I'm a fan of, and you park your food truck next to, the one next to you is selling brisket grilled cheese barbecue sandwiches on Texas toast. And you try to sell your matzah cracker with the grilled cheese, I don't think you're going to be very successful. I don't think it's going to be a big line at your food truck.
Maybe the first day for the novelty.
Yeah, to go, oh, what does that taste like?
And then when they find out.
Mm-hmm. Then you could offer your, you remember how Taco Bell used to have those little, I guess they still do, those cinnamon crispy crunchy things, and
I come down to Texas, and I'm looking for authentic Mexican food
like you find back home in Pennsylvania.
No, I'm looking for the real thing, and you guys are sending me to Taco Bell. It's like I could have gone there.
Yeah, no, I'm not sending you Taco Bell, but you could do matzah. So you could sell your grilled cheeses and then have the matzah with cinnamon and sugar, like matzah. Good. What do you call that? Not French toast. Just what's it called? Just cinnamon toast.
Cinnamon toast.
Yeah. So just cinnamon toast.
Yeah.
So
those are. It's sopapilla, almost.
Or like the cereal, Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah.
By the way, none of these people are advertising or paying me to say this.
Yes. You're welcome to call us.
Yes. We're open to offers. Cinnamon Toast Crunch people. I don't even know if that's still around. But the bottom line is I don't think people line up and matzah's Feast of Unleavened Bread is it's not like Sukkot. People anticipate and they're excited about Sukkot, but Feast of Unleavened Bread is just kind of like got to do this thing and I can't eat
It's
bread.
the bread of affliction.
Yes.
Although
That sounds like a good way to sell it to someone, doesn't it?
yeah,
Hey, you want to come for a week and eat the bread of affliction?
right.
Affliction? What did I say? Inflection?
Inflection. You need to inflect
Yes.
when you say affliction.
Affliction. Yes, thank you. So
Yeah.
the bread of affliction. I can't say it today. So bread, it's amazing when it's fresh and out of the oven. And so describe how does your family react when your wife makes her famous challah bread?
We holla, obviously. We holla at you. No, so yeah. When I come home back in the day from work and as soon as I walk in the door, I know that
Something awesome has happened.
We're having some challah bread,
Mhm.
and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep. It's been a little while. We should have her make some more.
Mm. Well, I definitely don't think people walk in there and go, "Oh, what's that matzah you're baking?" Oh man, yeah, it's just not
definitely different.
Yeah, and so when you think about bread out of the oven, there's a smell, there's a taste, there's a texture, there's a flavor. It's a universal language. I mean, you can go to any part of the world and offer someone a piece of fresh bread, and you have a friend. And I think if you go offer them a stale, crunchy cracker, they're gonna be like, "Oh, thank you."
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But warm, fresh bread, it does more than sustain life. It's craveable, and I think that's what Yeshua. I think he's both these things, but he should be like that fresh bread out of the oven. We should desire that. And desire him the same kind of way.
Right. It's easier to crave the fresh bread than it is the matzah, but
yeah. But I see a lot of comparisons to how Yeshua is that bread that we should be craving and seeking. So the blood on the doorpost at the Passover, they were saved by the blood. They had a part to play in this. Yahuwah had a part to play as well. So we get into a lot of arguments and debates with some people, especially maybe in our former church kind of mindset and walk, where some people come out of a place where it's like I call it greasy grace, and my family hates me because I say greasy grace. But where you can't fall from salvation. Have you heard people talk about kind of that perspective?
OSAS, yeah, the once saved, always saved situation.
Yeah. And and there's so many times in Scripture where it's clear that we have a part to play, and Passover was definitely that. But anyway, what the blood does is the blood lets him know that it was safe for him to dwell with them. He basically was, one way to think about this is he's invited in to be a part of that home. Death can't touch that house because he is now a part of it. They are protected. They're covered by the blood, which is definitely, clearly foreshadowing. And then would you read this scripture in Revelation 3:20?
Sure. Look, I am standing at the door and knocking. If anyone listens to my voice and opens the door, I'll come in and we'll eat together.
So when you look at these two things here, I want to go, I don't know what I just did. So
back.
So I don't remember what slide
You're on that one.
So perfect. So Jake, do you see any comparisons between the concept of Yeshua being at the door knocking and the blood on the doorpost?
Yeah, clearly there's a door involved.
Doors. They both have doors.
Yes.
Check.
And so,
or I should relate. How do you think this might connect to, say, the wedding feast?
How
could these be together?
So yeah, at the wedding feast, the
Do they eat?
the groom would knock at the door, and the bride would open the door and go with him, and they would go and eat and have a party.
Yeah, and it, to me, it's a very similar thing to what you see at Passover. Is in a way that's what it shows is the groom is coming and there is this meal that's consumed.
This is more of the when the husband comes, the husband to be. This is more. He's knocking on the door and he comes in to eat. That's more the betrothal, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. And so the work after Passover, so symbolically after salvation begins, the real work happens. We're supposed to work on ourselves to constantly get rid of the leaven. And this represents our daily walk in life after salvation. The more leaven we have to deal with, the longer this can take. And so I think that the Feast of Unleavened Bread is a symbol of our spiritual journey. So the Passover, everyone has to start at some place, and it starts with the blood. Kind of interesting. Shouldn't be a shocker, but the story starts with the blood, and that particular feast, to me, is a mini version of your life and your maturity. I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, like you're gonna start. Correct me if I'm wrong on what you're saying, but so you start with the blood, and then you grow from there. You're going to be only receiving in.
We get rid of the leaven.
Yes,
you're
only
rid of
receiving in those pure things.
Yeah.
Would be the ideal way to go about it.
Right. And so many of us, we got the blood. And did that happen in your story? Did you get the leaven, or did you get the unleavened at the beginning of your walk?
Of my Torah walk, or my
In the beginning.
Yeah, I would say no. It was very leavened.
And I think that's probably a lot of people, and a lot of people don't realize how leavened it is, and they don't realize that they're just following really the doctrine of the Catholic Church. And no matter what the sign says outside the door, it's very much connected to Catholic Church doctrine.
Right.
So, but we're not here.
Right. So there's never a specific. Let's look into this and get the leaven out. Let's make sure that our teaching is pure. Let's make sure there's lip service to that, but there's never, going through the motions physically helps you get there in your heart. Helps you get there spiritually as well.
Yeah.
The physical kind of helps you see what's supposed to be happening spiritually, and if you're a visual learner, that's going to be helpful for you.
Yeah. But definitely, we're supposed to be working on ourselves and get rid of the leaven, and we got to get rid of the poison. And if we work on getting rid of the junk, we grow in our understanding. We become inwardly clean and ready to enter in, cleansing our temple the way Yeshua cleaned his. It's an active, ongoing process. It's about the heart, not the fart. Clean out the heart. So that's another T-shirt idea in the working. So I don't know if it'd be very popular though. Well, that's what we're gonna wear when we make our matzah grilled cheeses.
Ooh, there you go.
So that's the perfect shirt for that. People will just line up for miles.
I'm seeing it.
So that's an investment opportunity. So, and we're gonna offer that
on the
to
bottom floor.
That's right. So we're gonna put that on. What's that website where you do startups like that?
Crowdfund, Kickstarter.
Yeah, we'll do a Kickstarter campaign. And so all we need is we probably need, I don't know, 50,000 to probably buy a food truck and outfit it and start getting it going. And so we'll get going on that just any second now.
Yeah. Well, so, plus T-shirts.
Yes, T-shirts. So. Mm-hmm. So, but definitely this concept is, and so we talked about Yeshua cleaning out the temple. And so, I did it again. So I'm not sure what is happening here, but so when Yeshua cleans out the temple, it's a very forceful, intense moment. And so he walks into the temple and they're selling all this stuff and people are profiting. Rich people are profiting off of the poor people, basically. And he gets ticked and, he makes a whip. And, have you ever met a man cracking a whip?
No, it's probably intimidating.
Probably so. I've seen a demonstration. Have you ever seen where they crack a whip and pop a cigarette out of somebody's mouth or something?
No, I've seen video, never in person.
I was someplace where they did it one time in a outdoor setting or something, but I remember whoa. It's crazy how accurate those guys can be. But definitely, if somebody is coming at you head on with a whip, you're probably going to social distance from them.
Yes.
So social distancing is not new, people.
Right. It's been tried and true.
But definitely, I think the concept exists of cleaning out the leaven. You should be as aggressive as Yeshua was cleaning out the leaven in the temple.
And clearly, if he's making a whip, this is a deliberate cleansing. So be deliberate about the cleansing.
And I think a lot of people want to make him out to be the mamby-pamsy, wimpy, white boy Jesus that comes in and is like, hey guys, I really like it if you take that out of here because that's really harshing my aura in here. So I don't, but I think that, not that he ever said anything like that, but I think that people kind of look at him that way a lot of times, or they want to see him that way because he's easier. It's just like Talladega Nights. He's like sweet dear baby Jesus laying there in the manger, all 8 pounds and 7 ounces, and he's just so focused. People want that image. They don't like the image of him coming in kicking butt, because that's what he did. The people basically dropped everything. I can hear money here hitting the floor, and they're grabbing things as fast as they can, and they're just leaving. And some of the stuff they're leaving there because they're like, holy crap, that guy might try to kill me. I don't know.
Yeah,
and he was like a madman. I think he definitely made a point, and they got it very quickly, very clearly. But I think that same diligence and aggressive attitude is what he wants for us when it comes to getting rid of the leaven. It's something that you really have to go after. You can't just passively pursue going after the leaven. And if you've never aggressively pursued going after the leaven, I think you should.
Right. And not just the physical leaven in the house. I mean, that too, but in your heart, that's what you want to be looking at.
Yeah. We're definitely talking about the heart. I'm not even talking really about the physical leaven. I'm talking about spiritually in your heart, in your life, the teachings that we have that are inaccurate. And I think this is a good time to fast from those teachings. Really so much of what the Catholic Church did in traditional modern church is they stole from concepts that were found here. And so there is this concept of fasting, but I think it's fasting from the teachings of man.
Yeah, and that's, we like to do that too during Unleavened Bread.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
You get in such a habit of listening to certain things, and you're like, oh, I can't listen to that.
Yeah.
But I think that is the principle. So the fruit of the fruit of maturity, it's a refining and maturing of our beings. Once we're free from the poison, if you will, we can produce the fruits that will then produce seeds. As we mature, we are to make seeds that one day will make more seeds. The physical reflects the spiritual. And so when we think about seeds, I come from an agricultural background, and I am still connected to agriculture and what I do day to day. And I talk about seeds every day, just about. And so, when you think about bread, where does bread come from, Jake?
The oven, Matt.
The oven, of course, fool. Of course, it comes from the oven. Where else would it come from?
We all know that it grows on a tree, and you go pick it.
Yes, it's money.
Yeah.
That kind of bread. So bread, does originate as a seed. And so years ago, I heard this old gospel preacher, and there was a concept that he taught, and I believe it was true. And so, that's one thing I'm going to take a little sidebar. There's a lot of good, God-fearing, gospel believing preachers and things that they have some pieces of truth. And I think it's, sometimes in this walk, it's easy to dismiss all of them, but there are definitely pieces that are accurate. And this guy talked about, the goal of a seed, and I had never really thought about it like this, that a seed makes a seed. Like kind produce like offspring, and seeds make seeds. And so that is the goal of that seed. And so Yeshua is the seed. He was put in the ground just like a seed, and he emerges as an everlasting living being. He wants to be like him. And then we're going to go into the parable of the sower. But do you have anything else to add about the concept of the seed?
Yeah, just the whole idea. You don't get more garlic unless the garlic you planted goes into the ground and dies, and then produces more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fun fact. You may not know this, but okay, we were talking about peanuts earlier. Anytime you eat a peanut, next time you eat a peanut, crack it open. A peanut is called a dicot seed because it has two halves. And when you open up those two halves, there is a baby plant inside every peanut. And so every seed already has a baby plant, an embryo that's already there, and perfectly symmetrical, perfectly formed. Just another piece of evidence that this is created, and it's absolutely amazing that But anytime, I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but inside the little peanut, there's a little bitty tiny.
I always wondered what that was.
And that's the baby plant, and it got baked and cooked after they roasted the peanut, so it's not going to make it anymore. So don't plant the peanuts in the ground, because they're not going to grow other peanuts.
Oh, okay. I'll keep that in mind.
Unless they're raw.
Okay.
The raw ones will. So anyway, we're going to look at the parable of the sower. And Jake, would you read Matthew 13 from the Nog?
That same day, Yeshua left the house and sat down by the Sea of Galilee. The crowd that gathered around him was so large that he got into a boat. He sat in the boat while the entire crowd stood on the shore. Then he used stories as illustrations to tell them many things. He said, "Listen, a farmer went to plant seed. Some seeds were planted along the road, and birds came and devoured them. Other seeds were planted on rocky ground where there was little soil. The plants sprouted quickly because the soil wasn't deep, but when the sun came up, they were scorched. They withered because their roots weren't deep enough. Other seeds were planted among thorn bushes, and the thorn bushes grew up and choked them. But other seeds were planted on good ground and produced grain. They produced 160 or 30 times as much as was planted. Let the person who has ears listen." Yeshua answered, "Knowledge about the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but it has not been given to the crowd. Those who understand these mysteries will be given more knowledge, and they will excel in understanding them. However, some people don't understand these mysteries. Even what they understand will be taken away from them. This is why I speak to them this way. They see, but they're blind. They hear, but they don't listen. They don't even try to understand. So they make Isaiah's prophecy come true. You will hear clearly, but never understand. You will see clearly, but never comprehend. These people have become closed-minded and hard of hearing. They have shut their eyes so that their eyes never see, their ears never hear, their minds never understand, and they never return to me for healing. Blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. I can guarantee this truth. Many prophets and many of Elohim's people long to see what you see, but didn't see it. To hear what you hear, but didn't hear it. Listen to what the story about the farmer means. Someone hears the word about the kingdom, but doesn't understand it. The evil one comes at once and snatches away what was planted in him. This is what the seed planted along the road illustrates. The seed planted on rocky ground is the person who hears the word and accepts it at once with joy. Since he doesn't have any root, he lasts only a little while. When suffering or persecution comes along because of the word, he immediately falls from faith. The seed planted among the thorn bushes is another person who hears the word, but the worries of life and the deceitful pleasures of riches choke the word so that it can't produce anything. But the seed planted on good ground is the person who hears and understands the word. This type produces crops. They produce 160 or 30 times as much as was planted.
So before we go there, do you have any thoughts about that you read there? Oh yeah. So, oh, I'm going the wrong way. Any thoughts about that reading?
I mean, I have thoughts.
Yeah.
No, I think it's interesting that when he starts talking about why he's speaking in parables, that always strikes me because I won't remember the place right now, but he says that so they'll hear and will not understand lest they repent and be saved. And I just think it's an amazing it's kind of a game changer when you kind of pick that up. That there's sheep and there's goats.
Yeah. Well, when we started thinking about this, it just made sense to me. I could kind of see how you can weave all this together.
Yeah.
About he's the bread, he's the seed, and so the seed. When I think about the parable of the sower, what kind of seed do you think the farmer was planting?
Probably like.
Do you think he was planting flowers?
Probably not in abundance.
Probably not. I don't think, especially back in that day, that I just can't see that many farmers that went out and planted flowers.
Probably a lot of wheat and barley.
Yes. And so they were planting food sources, and they used a lot of bread back in the day because bread is a great way to nourish a lot of people, and it's fairly easy to make and do, and this stuff will grow about anywhere. So as it does, but I mean, yes, there's so many other things happening in the story, and definitely about about how people are and different types of people are here. You definitely want to be the fertile ground in this story for sure.
Right.
But there's definitely a connection, and I'm not saying I have everything sewn up in and put a nice little bow on it. It's something to ponder and something to consider about how the bread of life is connected to the seed. And then after the unleavened bread, it's now time to enter the promised land. We're now offering a wave of our first fruits to him as we symbolically show him we're ready to enter the land with him. We've laid down our own will, given up our leaven, and we've become, what he really wants is us to become like that farmer, casting seeds. And so it kind of goes back to a current event thing we just did recently where we talked about current events in the world and about evangelism.
Right.
And so definitely, and evangelism goes back to, a seed begets a seed. And
right.
So
you're just looking to scatter seed, and it's up to Yahweh if it grows. Just like a regular gardening. You throw the seed out there, you can't, no matter what you do to it, it's not up to you whether it grows.
Well, that's a great example. I talk to people about plants, and so that's the world that I know a lot about. And people will say, sometimes they name, in my world it's crazy talk, but to them it's not. But they'll tell me some crazy ideas they have on, oh, I want to do this plant here. I'm like, no, that plant's not going to work. That plant will die. And I can plant that for you if that's what you want, but it is on you when it dies. Don't complain to me. Don't ask me later why it died. I'm telling you right now, it is going to die if we do what you say to do. And but I also tell people that the plant, that you can take a plant, and the book may say this plant needs full sun and well-drained soil, and you put it someplace and you go like, oh, it's going to do great. Well, the plant didn't read the book, and it may not. And so, it just meets your point that, same thing is true with if something is deer resistant.
Yeah.
You can plant a deer resistant flower, but the deer, they don't know that. And they're going to take a bite out of it, and they might decide they like it. I mean, who knows? But so anyway, I don't really know where I was going with that, but going
just
somewhere.
That it's up to Yahweh whether the seed's gonna grow or not.
Mm-hmm. And so the waving represents with the yod represents human worship, and so Jake and I were debating about this. I think this first character is that yod right there. I don't know.
This is yod over on the right.
The one on the right. This first one on the left, it looks to me like someone. Well, I guess it could look like two things. It could look like someone standing and they have their hands up and you kind of see their shadow, or their knees are bent and their legs are up and they've got their arms outstretched as they're, maybe prostrate on the ground.
Yeah.
So
sure.
But anyway,
I think it looks like a Y stick.
The Y stick.
Over.
Yes. But the bottom line is we must first die to ourselves. We must be buried, and we rise again as something new, which is all very much similar to the seed talk.
Right.
And that's exactly, what we see in that Yeshua was a seed that did this very thing.
Right.
So that's...
And you rise again with no leaven. And then you wait until that leaven, the true leaven, takes hold and puffs up properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Well, I think that's all I have about the first fruits. And, like I said, we're not claiming that we have all the answers and that, we're just two guys trying to figure this out like you are. And, if you have other thoughts, maybe things we didn't think about, please give us comments. If you question it, if you think we're absolutely wrong, let us know. We asked you to do that in kindness and objective reasoning, and explain it and back it up with scripture, not just because you don't like it. So, but anyway, Jake, you got anything else to say?
Just that we started this off talking about how asking the question, is Yeshua the unleavened bread, or is he the leavened everyday bread that we see? And we kind of came to the idea that he's both. And I think that the evidence of that is that last slide where you start off, right? The seed dies and then grows again, and you die to yourself, and you start anew, afresh, unleavened, and then you only let the leaven that is the word, the pure leaven, in.
That's good. Well, as always, we appreciate you taking your time, effort, and energy, and to stop by and listen. And we ask that if this is beneficial, if you like what you heard here today, please let other people know about it. So, because believe it or not, Jake and I have even tried some advertising dollars to try to expand our audience. And but the best thing is word of mouth, and just you telling people and whether it be family members or just someone that you think might be interested. We just appreciate you letting them know about us, and that's all. This is Matt signing off.
And Jake signing off.